Welcome back to Superhuman Customs. I'm Stephen Human, and this week we have something a little bit different I've never done before. So I got our good friend Black Adam here, and this is a version of the character that I don't really like. I like the movie version. I think he's awesome. I don't have one yet. That's going to be a purchase for the future. But I got this guy because he came with the legs for the Frost King, and that's all that I needed. And next week we're going to be doing the Frost King, which will be really cool. But with this guy, one of the things I don't like is just, I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me. So what we're gonna do is a cape. We are gonna make a cloth cape for this guy. And I've studied up a little bit on how to do this. We're gonna put a cloak on him. So he's gonna have the hood. I think it's gonna look awesome. So we're gonna just do a little bit different. I think I am still gonna do just a light gray wash on him just to texture him up a little bit. So we'll do that as well. But this is the focus. We're gonna put a cloak on here. We're gonna have it hang down. We're gonna put a little bit of design on the outside, and we're gonna sew in some wires. So this is gonna be pretty cool. I'm very excited to see how this turns out. So let's get started. First things first, we gotta straighten this cape out a little bit. You can see up here, it's very uneven. I basically just pulled this fabric from the leftover fabric that we had, and I'm gonna use one of these really nice straight cutters. I'm gonna try and just basically follow the line here and hope that this will work. I'm not going to pull it straight or anything or tight. I'm just going to try and follow the line, and that's it. Just that simple. Nice and straight. Now the next thing, I want this thing to be as big as it possibly can be, because since I'm going to cut it down, let's bring him down here so we can see just how big he is. So if we were to cut from right here, that should give us enough, right? So if we're down like this, we want the top to be here. So if we were to cut from here up, I'm thinking that'll give us enough of what we want. I'm gonna give us a little bit extra though. So I'm gonna cut down here and I'm gonna go up. Whoops. So here we go. And we're gonna go up like so. And I did not cut hard enough. Yay! All right, it'll fall like so. And it'll give me enough to play with up top. Now what I've done is I've cut out a piece for the hood itself. So it'll wrap like this around his head. And we'll sew some wire in here. So that's gonna be our next step. Before we sew, I actually have to cut another piece right here, just another half moon out, so that his neck can actually have a place to go. So I'm gonna do that so that we have somewhere to actually sew in the hood. And all right, it's now time to move on to Elise's part and sewing in the wires. That's Elise. She's the seamstress in the family, so she's gonna start going through here. She says that the fabric's a little bit weird and she hopes it doesn't get eaten by the sewing machine. I don't know what that means.
It has happened before.
It has happened before, apparently. So let's watch together, and perhaps this is going to be a horror show. I don't know. What are you doing, Elise?
What am I doing? I'm pitting the fabric so that I can hem it. So I am going to hem this side so that it doesn't fray and become ugly. And then I am going to do pretty much the same thing here, except afterward I'm going to put this wire through the hole so that it can be like manipulated so that he can make this figure look super cool, like the cape's blowing in the background and stuff. So it's gonna look awesome.
She doesn't look to be screwing it up. So she's unpicking, which means something went wrong, but I still trust her. Should I still trust you? Yeah, how do you feel about it?
I don't know, it's not finished yet.
There's our hood, at least the beginning of the hood, because we gotta sew in the rest. You know, I'm thinking we probably should start with just a regular cape as opposed to a cloak. It probably would have been a lot easier, but that's how we roll. We're doing it the hard way. All right, it's sewed on. I think we're gonna need to play around with it a little bit with the wires and stuff, but I'm thinking we're doing pretty good. All right, how was that, Elise? How was that experience?
It was interesting.
Do you feel that we did a good job?
I do.
I feel that you did a good job.
Aw.
What I've learned from this experience is A, have someone who knows how to sew if you're gonna make a cape, because I would not have been able to pull this off. And second, I think that it would have been nice if I had if I'd cut these a little bit bigger, but we will see how it works out. As you can see, Dash is very interested in being a part of the shot with his elf ears. So let's now go ahead and play around and see how we can get this to fit. Okay, so I got this pen. It's supposed to be a fabric pen. I've been experimenting with it a little bit, and let's see if it will work. So I'm just going to start over here. What my plan is to do a double layer down the edges and see if this turns out. So I'm going to go right in here, and I'm just going to tab. During my experiments, this is what I found was working the best, is just kind of tapping it. Now in the future, when I do this again, because I will do more capes and stuff, I am for sure going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to use a thinner fabric, because this one, even though it turned out actually pretty cool with these little ruffles, because it looks like it's pleated a little bit, so it did turn out pretty cool in that regard. It's still not as, I don't know, I'd like to have a little bit more control over that in the future. Now I'm going to go through and simply add some design elements. I want to keep it nice and simple. I'm going to go through and add sort of these rectangles here, and then just lines like this, just to make it so that, I'm not sure exactly how it looked in the movie. I'm not really necessarily, I mean, this isn't a movie character anyway. Just add some little design elements. Has not been working out. It's way too thick. So what I did is I just dumped some of the ink in here, and I'm using a paintbrush, and I'm starting to go over in much thinner lines, and it's working out much better to create a design. This paint it's very thin. It's almost like a half paint, half ink, and it's just not working great. But I think that this way it's going to be much more effective, and it's going to look far cooler. So that is what I am doing. And I wish I had done that from the start, but this is how we learn, right guys? This is how we learn. The last thing I want to do to this guy is just do a light wash with a dry brush in gray. I just want to highlight some of these little ridges and stuff and give him a little bit of texturing. It's not going to do a ton because I don't really want it to be really crazy, but I do want things just to stand out a little bit more, because he is a very monochromatic figure when it comes down to it. And so a little bit of this will just add some three-dimensionality to him, because he's got some great textures. He really does when it comes to the, the actual plastic, but he needs something just to help him to stand out a little bit, in my opinion. I lied. We're gonna do one more thing. I just got some of this glow-in-the-dark fabric paint, and I'm going to paint our good friend's symbol here, just for the heck of it. I want to see what it is. It's going to change the color for sure. It's going to change it to a little bit of a yellow or a greenish yellow, but I really want to have a glow-in-the-dark symbol here. So I'm going to risk it all right now and do this. No risk, no reward. So this is glow-in-the-dark fabric paint. I think it's going to be cool to have his symbol be glow-in-the-dark. So let's just get this all over. Remember, fabric paint is wonderful because it cleans off super easy while it's wet. So I'm going to pile it on here, clean it off in a minute, let it dry, and see. It's going to be a little bit blotchy, I think. I'm going to try and get it as unblotchy as possible, but we'll see. And then he'll have a glow-in-the-dark symbol, which I think is awesome. And we did it. Now, like I said, a couple things I would change. I would use some lighter fabric, and I would have the wire extend all the way back here, which most capes I would do, but with this one, how we had it set up, we didn't. So it kind of hangs a little bit right here. But other than that, I think he turned out really nice. I'm really excited about how he looks. And as you can see with the glow-in-the-dark paint, it does add just a really cool sort of extra feature. And it always kind of has a little bit of like a brighterness to it with that lightning bolt. He looks really cool. So I took what I didn't necessarily care for as a toy, turned him into something that I do care for. And even with these little pleats here, I mean, they weren't pleats, but just how it kind of naturally did, it still kind of looks cool. So we got lucky in a couple of ways. But again, there are some changes I'll make on the next one that I do, and you will be along with me when I do that. I'm Stephen Human with Superhuman Customs. I'll see you guys next time.